How should you keep your interaction with your subordinate to inspire them and to improve their engagement in work? In this lesson, we will talk about the criteria to select your leadership style, to interact with your employees in different situations. I'm going to give an insight on 4 different styles. The first approach is management approach. Your employees are not projects or processes that you want to manage. They are humans. You need to lead them, not manage them. Managing your employees is more like damaging employees. When you point out their past mistakes and weaknesses and tell them directly about those mistakes in a sweeping manner, it damages their morale. It is not the right way to improve their actions to avoid mistakes in future. Leaders don't do that. Leaders correct their employees in future tense and they avoid bashing them on their past mistakes and issues. For example, one of your employees is sales executive and his performance was not satisfactory in past 3 months. If you tell him how bad his sales skills are and point out his weaknesses, then it will never inspire him to grow and improve. Even he did 10% struggle to bring results, next time he will not be motivated to give even his 10% to bring results. Only the fear of losing job will push him to work. This is not how you develop your employees. Sweeping statements and bashing statements creates fear. And fear never motivates someone to complete any task with positive energy, although they may complete the task and bring the result. But the will to bring result will be missing in them. Not just in corporate world. In any established relationship, traditional managing approach will always be counterproductive. It kills the motivation, reduces the will to take initiative, take away the sense of ownership and take away the responsibility from your employee. It solves the problem on temporary basis, but in the long run, it will demotivate your talented employees to unlock their potential. But of course, traditional managing approach will be required in those areas where you need extreme level of discipline. By traditional management approach, I mean the concept of boss. Try to avoid this approach specifically with your key people. They are your assets. Their high level of motivation is something you will always need. Now our second leadership approach is mentoring approach. Mentoring is a skill development approach. Your communication will be based on developing particular skills or finding solutions for the problems. But mentoring will work only when you find that your employee lacks some kind of skills to perform any particular job or goal. It is about helping them in developing that skill or finding the solution. But this approach is applicable only when your employee lacks skills. But if he has the required skill and yet he is not completing the job because of the lack of will, then this approach will not work. This approach is for skill deficiency. For will deficiency, it will not work. You need something in combination with mentoring to make things work. Mentoring is very good for newly hired employees, where you teach them how to perform certain jobs, where you act like skill partner or like gap partner. Now, for experienced employees who have skills but lack the will, you need to adopt counseling approach. Counseling is about asking. It is about asking questions. It is about getting to know what is inside your employee's mind. It's about focusing on the past and breaking the psychological barriers regarding the problems. For example, your employee is arriving late at work. You need to sit with him and ask questions. Ask him about the solutions. Now instead of telling him, you are asking him. When you ask something, it's like inside out. And when you tell something, it is outside in. When he points out the problem and thinks about the solution himself, then he will be more committed to implement the solution, because the solution is not enforced on him. Remember that inside out approach creates inspiration, whereas outside in kills the inspiration of your people. Suppose you are the manager of a manufacturing company where products are being manufactured. You noticed that the number of defective products have been increased in past few days. You come to the supervisor of the department and now you will use counseling approach, which is about asking questions to reach to the root cause of the problem. You are just pushing your supervisor to give the solution himself and triggering his own ability to think. Once you come up with the solutions to resolve the problem, the implementation of the solution will become relatively easier, since the supervisor was engaged in the process of finding the solution and you have created the buy-in process quite effectively. Also, you have established a wonderful employee engagement in this process. Counseling also helps in lifting off the pressure from your employees. Talk to them in a more friendly and humanly way. It reduces the stress and pressure on your employee. Also, you get to know what it feels to be on his place. You can empathize things better. Counseling is about mutual understanding. It's about focusing on those issues that trouble your employee and his work both. It's about creating an environment in which your employee can resolve his issue himself. Difference between mentoring and counseling is that in mentoring, you were teaching him the skills, which is quite good for new employees. Whereas in counseling, you're not teaching anything. You are just improving his will to find the solutions and implement them by taking away all his hurdles and developing his engagement by asking questions and digging the issues. Another easy way to understand the counseling approach is that think about a student who is not completing his homework due to lack of will. Now, you get to ask him questions and sort out all his excuses. He may tell you about his problems like he is not getting enough time or find a place, etc. Then, his own proposed solution will be like providing him a proper room or place and allocate time for him to complete his homework. Or maybe his problem is like he's not in a mood to complete his homework. In that case, you will have to incentivize him if he completes the homework. This is how you will create an environment in which you can get his work done with maximum engagement. His skill was already there. Now you have established his will too. Now let's talk about the coaching approach. This approach is the best approach among all approaches. When you act like a coach, you nourish your employees and correct their problems before they happen. Like a soccer game, a coach analyzes the strengths and weaknesses of his players and correct their issues and prepare them for their future actions. True leaders follow this approach. With this approach, you can develop your employees and make them good performers with maximum involvement in work. Coaching hits two major areas. One is increasing the involvement of your employees and other is developing them professionally. You got to improve or sustain the performance of your employees by focusing on short-term and long-term development goals. A coach is a learning facilitator. Do not confuse coaching with teaching. Coaching is about helping someone in learning, growing, and performing. Even if you are not an expert of something, you can help someone in showing them a way to get things done. It's like hand-holding of someone and leading to success. It's like unlocking someone's potential which they already have, with a purpose of maximizing their own performance. Coaching is about setting up a belief in your employees that they have the answers to their problems and you unlock their potential to let them seek those answers. Both counseling and coaching approach improves the involvement. More involvement means more commitment from employee side, and committed employees are your best asset. Here is a brief conclusion of difference between all these, so you know when to use what. You can pause the video and check it out as a refresher.